It is absolutely wild how expensive video games can be.
Now you're playing with power.
If you would have told an 8-year-old me that there would be Nintendo cartridges worth many thousands of dollars, I would have thought you were absolutely bonkers. When I was a kid, places were practically giving these games away. I can't tell you how many games I bought from my local video rental store for just a few dollars each. As a matter of fact, I was able to pick up my Sega Saturn and a bunch of games for peanuts because nobody wanted them at the time. So when I first got the idea to make this video and I went to price charting to check the most expensive NES games, I was surprised to see how many of the top 10 were variants of games that were available for much cheaper in other cartridge variations, or were other promotional cartridges produced for competitions. I, personally, was more interested in seeing what were the most expensive games that couldn't be picked up for much cheaper in other forms, or weren't actually unique experiences meant for mass consumption. So there won't be any Nintendo World Championships in this list, and there won't be any 5-screw variations. I will probably one day make a special video for the most expensive NES cartridges, because I do find that interesting as well, but that's just not what we're going to look at today. I did decide to include unlicensed games in this list. I do not know why. I think that this was probably a mistake. You'll see why. Without further ado, here is the top 10 most expensive games for the NES. Enjoy.
Number 10.
Zombie Nation was released in 1991 and published by Meldak. This game may have my all-time favorite premise for any NES game ever, possibly any game ever. Let me set the scene for you. It's 1999. An evil alien named Darkseid crashes into the Nevada desert. This diabolical creature turns citizens of the United States into zombies, while also bringing the Statue of Liberty to life in order to do his dirty work. He then took control of the legendary samurai sword, Shura, the disembodied head of a great samurai, seemingly not really giving a shit about the zombification of America, or anything else that Darkseid was doing, decided that he would not stand for this creature using his favorite sword. He quickly flew to the US and began destroying everything in sight, with his projectiles of eyeballs and vomit. Tell me that's not the most bomb story to exist on an NES cartridge. I don't think you can. Radical story aside, I really like this shoot 'em up. The absolute weirdness of this game definitely heightened my opinion initially, but as I played, I found myself to be genuinely enjoying the gameplay. Now, it's not perfect by any means. Your disembodied samurai head feels very slippery when controlling it, for instance. There's a floatiness to your movement. Maybe it was programmed this way to really sell that floating head of a corpse feel, but it did drive me nuts when I first started playing. It is also very difficult. There is constantly a screen full of things trying to take you down, and this difficulty is amplified by those loose controls. I had a lot of fun playing it though. The graphics are adequate, and the music suits the game very well. Is it worth $400? No, but luckily, this was just re-released on the Switch and Steam in 2021 for $12, and it includes the original Famicom version as well. It is definitely worth that price. If it looks interesting to you, check it out.
Number 9.
Bonk's Adventure was released in 1994 and published by Hudson Soft. This is a port of the TurboGrafx-16 game from 1989, with Bonk actually serving as the mascot for that console during its life. I did not grow up with any knowledge of the TurboGrafx, so I am not the most familiar with the character. While it is my understanding that the TurboGrafx version is quite superior, I really got into this NES port. I think Bonk is an incredibly likable character, and I can see why he was chosen to represent the TurboGrafx platform. Bonk's Adventure is a side-scrolling platform game. The story is pretty simple. King Drool has kidnapped the Moon Princess, and it's up to Bonk to rescue her. I have never encountered such an interesting and unique premise in an NES game. Truly a trailblazer. All joking aside, this game is awesome. I love the graphics, they are nice and colorful and very charming. The music got stuck in my head for sure, and most importantly, the gameplay is great. Using your gigantic bulbous cave boy dome to destroy your foes is incredibly enjoyable. Your power-ups come in the form of giant pieces of meat! Hell yeah! I haven't played much of the TurboGrafx original, but I know that I absolutely have to go back and play that one as well. Is it worth almost $700? No, of course not, but I definitely recommend finding a way to check it out. Definitely a gem in the NES library.
Number 8!
Panic Restaurant was released in 1992 and published by Taito. First, let's take a second to appreciate this box art. Look at this. What's going on up here? Flan. This is yet another great game that is depressingly expensive. The story revolves around Chef Cookie, who is cursed by his rival Odove, whose name I understand is the result of a bastardization of hors d'oeuvre by way of transliteration. Odove has transformed the food in the restaurant into giant mutant killing machines who seek to destroy the mustachioed chef. Panic Restaurant is a platformer, and you're armed with an array of cooking-related weapons, including a frying pan, a spoon, and plates. It's a very whimsical good time. It looks great and plays great. Look at this jiggling flan! Look at it jiggle! Look at it jiggle flop! This is a game that I don't really ever remember hearing about, and I think that's a shame. I would have loved this growing up, right alongside Burger Time and fast food. I seem to really enjoy food-related retro video games, which is an interesting aspect of myself that I am just now discovering. Is it worth $750? Obviously no, but play this one if you haven't. I don't know how well known this game actually is, but I think general audiences who enjoy games of this era will find a lot to like with this one.
Number 7!
Power Blade 2 was released in 1992 and published by Taito. It is the sequel to Power Blade. The more you know, huh? I am not very familiar with the original Power Blade, but I have heard very positive things about that game. Trying out the first one for the purpose of this video, in order to be able to compare it to the sequel, I have to say, I like that first one a lot more than this second one. The graphics, the music, and the gameplay are all much better in the first Power Blade. I have now played more of the second one for the purposes of this video, but I am excited to go back and play the first one. Power Blade 2 is an action platformer set way in the future. Apparently, a company has developed a new, very dangerous cyborg soldier. This company tells the president that if the US does not purchase this new advanced weapon within 1 week, they would sell it to another country. We don't want it, and we definitely don't want anyone else to have it. You play as Nova on a secret mission from the Department of Defense to destroy this company. This next part isn't stated in the story, but I assume that after we destroy the company, we then just steal the technology and then make our own cyborg. I think that sounds like how that would probably end. This is by no means a terrible game. I just didn't have very much enjoyment playing it. It is incredibly frustrating with a healthy number of cheap deaths sprinkled around the game. There's just something about the design of this that didn't compel me to want to keep trying after dying so many times. There is fun to be had here, but it isn't something that I will find myself wanting to revisit very often. It has piqued my interest in the first game though, which I am very excited to play more of because that one was much more interesting to me. The coolest thing about this game to me is the fact that it takes place on Christmas Eve. This fact alone may get it more playtime, as then I can tell myself that this is a Christmas game and I'll put it into my yearly Yuletide rotation. I just really like Christmas-related things. So much so that I will stretch the definition of what a Christmas-related thing is. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Worth $950? No. Worth a play? Maybe. If any of this looks interesting to you, give it a shot. Or if you're a fan of the first game and want to see what they released as a sequel, you may want to check it out.
Number 6.
Bubble Bath Babes was released in 1991 and published by Panesian. I think that's how you say that, I'm not sure. This is the beginning of what I meant when I said I think it was a mistake including unlicensed games. Bubble Bath Babes, which just kind of rolls off the tongue, I'll give it that. Bubble Bath Babes. Bubble Bath Babes. Bubble Bath Babes is a matching color puzzle game with some sauciness tossed in for some reason. There's a naked lady at the bottom of the screen. So spoiler, this is the first of 3 unlicensed quote-unquote adult-themed games on this list, all published by Panesian. Sadly, this is by far the best of the 3. This game, functionally, isn't bad at all. If you're into puzzle games in this style, you'll probably get some enjoyment out of it. It'll just always baffle me why companies thought to put out games like this on the NES. Not worth $1,200, and not really worth emulating, unless just to satiate your curiosity, or you really crave some 8-bit boobies. Number 5! Flintstone's Surprise at Dinosaur Peak was released in 1993 and published by Taito. It's a name we see a lot in this list. It is the follow-up to the Rescue of Dino and Hoppy, and features everyone's favorite prehistoric family. Surprise at Dinosaur Peak is a platform game where you take control of Fred and Barney on a mission to save their children. You can switch between the two at any time, and each has their own special abilities. Fred can climb up cliffs and uses his club to defeat enemies, while Barney can climb poles and utilizes a slingshot as his weapon. It's not a bad little game. It features bright, colorful graphics and decent controls. I didn't find the music to be anything particularly spectacular, but it gets the job done. I think the character designs are on point and accurately represent the source material. I especially love the fact that when you push down on the D-pad, your character disappears into his clothes, which is a very Flintstones touch. This is a fun one that, while not worth $1,400, is one that I would say is worth checking out if you're able to by other legal means. Legal means. I'm going to spend more time with this one and make sure to check out the first game, as I have not played that one yet. A decent licensed effort for sure.
Number 4.
Hot Slots. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hot Slot was released in 1991 and is another of the adult titles published by Panesian. It's a game where you play slot machines. It's an entire cartridge, which is just the bonus minigame from Panic Restaurant. I do not understand the appeal of slot machine simulations. Apparently, as you make more money, you will eventually see naked people as a reward. I could not be bothered to keep going in order to try and see that. Bubble Bath Babes spoiled me with its constant on-screen nudity and better gameplay. The graphics are fine, I guess, but the music is annoying, repetitive, and grating on the ears. Not worth any of your time, and certainly not worth $1,700. I'd avoid this one.
Number 3.
Here we go again. Peekaboo Poker was released in 1991 and is the third of the adult video games published by Panesian. It's strip poker. You're given a choice of ladies to play a 5-card draw against, and that's about it. Your opponent's head is constantly on the screen taunting you or expressing displeasure. The more you win, the more you see. Although, I was only ever able to get Full House Franny here to tell me that she thinks I'd make a good father, and that she'd like to make an honest man out of me, which is really sweet. It's on the mid-tier of the Panesian games, with Bubble Bath Babes being the best, and Hot Slots being the worst. None of them being worth playing or worth $1,700.
Number 2.
Little Samson was released in 1992 and published by Taito. I'm sure by now mostly everyone has at least heard of this game, as it is now renowned in the NES community for its high price tag. But how does it play? It's actually a lot of fun. I like this one. Little Samson is a platform game that is very reminiscent of the Mega Man series in how it plays. The story involves a king summoning 4 heroes in order to defeat some supreme evil dude, with each hero having their own special abilities. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but for some reason, the dragon throws a little hissy fit before you embark on your quest, and you must kick the crap out of it before it finally agrees to go with you. Little Samson throws bells as his attack, and you can climb on walls. The dragon can fly for small periods of time and spits fire. The golem is the strongest character and has the most health, but he can't jump very high. And the mouse is fast and can fit into areas the others cannot fit into, and he's equipped with bombs, as well as being able to climb walls like Little Samson. The graphics in this one are great, and I liked some of the music, but I hate the way they decided to implement the music. Instead of different levels having its own music, each character has their own theme. So when you switch characters, you switch music. I like some of the themes, but the problem is that I spent a lot of time, most of the time, playing as Little Samson, and his theme is the worst. And it just keeps repeating over and over and over. There's just not a lot to his music, and it gets really grating really fast. Besides that, though, it is a great game. I loved my time with it, and it's a shame that this game didn't get more traction during the time of its release. 1800 is a bit steep in order to check this one out, but definitely find another way to play it. There's a lot to like about this game, and I'm glad that I finally got around to seeing what all the hullabaloo was about.
Number 1.
So as I'm researching for this video, I see now that the number 1 game breaks the rules that I had set for this video, as in it was never officially released and therefore not available for mass consumption. I was unaware of this fact at the beginning of the production of this video, but I'm in way too deep now. Cheetah Men 2 was developed by Active Enterprises and intended for release in 1992. It is the sequel to Cheetah Men, which was the standout game from the much maligned Action 52 cartridge. And it's even more awful than I could have ever imagined. This game seems to be incomplete, but I find it very interesting that in 1996, 1,500 copies of this game were discovered in a warehouse. Cheetah Men 2 was put onto Action 52 cartridges that were repurposed as Cheetah Men 2 with a small golden sticker on it. Why in the world did they put an unfinished game onto so many cartridges? This is just about unplayable and one of the worst gaming experiences that I have ever had in my entire life. Everything here causes pain and suffering. First off, the buttons are reversed. B jumps and A attacks. This is a cardinal sin in design. By 1992, we had been programmed to expect it to be the other way around, and I always have a rough time adjusting to the buttons being reversed. Second off, most of the enemies in this first stage are too low to be hit by my weapon, and the controls are so bad that it is very difficult to even try to simply avoid them. I kept trying to keep going for a few attempts, but I got very angry very quickly. Eventually, I got to this point where I just died for seemingly no reason. That was enough for me. I will probably come back to this one day for a dedicated video, because I hate myself, of course, but I think I saw enough for this one. Is it worth almost $2,000? Hell no. As you can see from this list, I don't really think any of these games are worth these insane prices. Now, would I like to own all of these games, including Cheetah Men 2? Well, yeah. It would be awesome to own all of these games. And if you decide that this is worth $2,000, then all the power to you. I really appreciate gaming history, and all of these games are a part of that, and incredibly interesting to me, whether they be god-awful or not. Now, is it just me, or does Dr. Morbus here look like the Monarch from the Venture Brothers? And there we go, the top 10 most expensive NES games as of the recording of this video. Many of these games I found were awesome experiences that I really wish had found more traction at the time of their release. A large majority of this list are games that I recommend you checking out by any means that you are able to do that. Even Cheetah Men 2, just so you can join me in being baffled by every single decision that they made. The only ones I really think most people can probably just pass up are those awful adult Panesian games. Unless you're just some kind of weirdo that really needs some 8-bit boobage in your life. I really enjoyed making this video. I will definitely make that top 10 most expensive NES cartridges one day when I get around to it. I think that'll be fun to look at too. I want to thank everyone for watching. Let me know what you think of these games. Have you played any of them? Do you own any of them? I hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Bye. Bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, 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 bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, 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 bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, bubble back, babe, 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 babe.